Coming up next, a big break in a nearly 40-year-old cold case. How a sheriff's team was finally able to identify a murder victim.
Neiman Marcus sued by an animal rights nonprofit over fur products being sold on their website.
State Farm dropping homeowners insurance policies. Coming up, I'll tell you which zip codes here are impacted and a warning from experts.
The whole baby shower thing, you have to think about like everyone flying in, so I didn't have a baby shower with my family.
A call to action, the Bright Beginning baby shower for veteran moms.
How cool is this? When the refrigerator used to help flood victims died, San Diego stepped up.
CBS 8 News live at 6 starts right now.
The San Diego Sheriff's Cold Case team has identified a murder victim more than 38 years after she was found off Highway 67. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Kirsten Holmes and for Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. Investigators used investigative genetic genealogy to find the victim's name and family. CBS 8's David Goffredson talked to the crime analyst who worked on the case.
This is a woman who they had not heard from for decades.
It took 38 years, but the woman found murdered off Highway 67 near Lakeside in 1986 has finally been identified, thanks to genetic genealogy. She is Maria Pilar Delgadillo Carrillo.
We know that she was from a small town in Jalisco, Mexico, central Mexico. She had 10 children, married.
San Diego Sheriff's crime analyst Jeffrey Vandersip says investigators spent more than 2 years tracking down family members in Mexico and Los Angeles, first identifying a second cousin and eventually confirming her children through DNA tests.
But then, of course, once you get somebody's name back, you can reconstruct, hopefully, their lives.
The 43-year-old was an undocumented immigrant who worked cleaning homes and had been in the United States for less than 6 months.
She came north looking for a better life.
Her body was found off Highway 67 north of Lakeside on August 3rd, 1986. Newspaper reports at the time said she suffered a shotgun wound to the chest.
We would like to know if there's anybody out there who remembers Pilar from her short period of time in San Diego. Perhaps she was living here. Perhaps she had already started working here. She had made some new friends here.
Now that the victim has been identified, homicide detectives will continue to search for her killer, who may or may not still be alive. And family members of the victim will at long last be able to bury their loved one.
That question always lingers. What happened?
Now, 38 years is a long time, but investigators are hoping somebody might recognize those photos of the victim and have some information to give to the Sheriff's Department. David Goffredson, CBS 8.
Thanks, David. And tonight at 11, True Crime Files. We look into a notorious East County murder from 1980 and talk to cold case detectives about how they used genetic genealogy to solve that crime. Again, that's tonight at 11.
Tonight, we now know that the 16-year-old killed in a wrong-way crash yesterday morning was a new father. The boy's family identified him as Thomas Ryder Shoup, or Ryder Day. A GoFundMe for Ryder says he was a sweet kid and touched the lives of everyone who knew him. The family says he left behind a young son and a girlfriend. CHP says a 67-year-old woman killed him when she drove on the wrong way on I-5 in Chula Vista. CHP is still investigating that crash.
San Diego police need your help to find a man they say claimed to be a police officer and tried to lure 2 children into his vehicle. Tonight, police have released this sketch. This all happened back on the morning of March 11th at Keeler Park on Woodrow Avenue in the Skyline area. The man is described as Hispanic, in his late 20s, 5'4" to 5'6", with a thin to medium build and black hair. Anyone with information should call San Diego police. A tuberculosis warning tonight for anyone who's been through Father Joe's Joan Kroc Center recently. Residents, workers, contractors, and volunteers need to know of a possible exposure from October 13th of last year to this March 13th, just last month. You can get more information from the county's TB control program. The number's on your screen. It's 692-5565. This is not associated with another TB exposure at a different shelter operated by Father Joe's Villages.
O.J. Simpson, the football legend infamously acquitted of murder, has died. He was 76 years old.
In a social media statement, his family confirmed his passing. His agent says he died after losing his battle with prostate cancer. Simpson's football career propelled him to stardom, becoming a legend in the game. But the murder of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and subsequent trial is etched into history.
CBS 8's Jesse Pagan is here with a look at Simpson's life and the effect he had throughout Southern California.
People throughout the country lauded O.J. Simpson during his football career. When he lived in Los Angeles, he solidified his spot in Hollywood. Then the so-called murder trial of the century captivated Southern California, people in San Diego, and the world. O.J. Simpson's fame and infamy spanned decades. His football career started as a running back at USC, his star rising as he won the Heisman Trophy in 1968. He played 11 seasons in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills, then the San Francisco 49ers. This was the era of the juice. After his days on the field, he turned to a career as a sports broadcaster and actor.
Minneapolis fight once.
That all changed in June 1994 when millions of people glued to their TVs watched police infamously chase Simpson's white Bronco on LA's freeways. His ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman were found stabbed to death. Simpson was accused of their murders. Alan Dershowitz was part of his star legal team.
There was overwhelming evidence that might suggest that he did it, and then there was one piece of evidence that was tampered with.
With cameras in the courtroom, Simpson's trial became a global television event.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
In San Diego, the CBS 8 team at the time watched the trial unfold. And our team was in LA as the verdict came down. The outcome of the trial was polarizing.
I remember when the verdict came out and the street split. There were black citizens on one side and white on the other, and people were seeing justice through different eyes.
The victims' families filed a civil lawsuit which did find Simpson liable and ordered him to pay millions in damages. More than a decade later, his book, If I Did It, garnered headlines. A 2007 Las Vegas robbery and kidnapping over sports memorabilia landed him in prison. He went on parole in 2017. As you can imagine, a lot of people around the world are reacting to the news. Reporters asked White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre today if President Biden had ever met Simpson or had any reaction to his death. Jean-Pierre shared her condolences for the family and said they would respect the family's wishes for privacy. Meantime, hosts of The Talk talked about it this morning, say it was a moment that defined social history, a moment of where were you when it happened. Kirsten?
Thank you for that, Jesse. Well, Lincoln High School football coach David Dunn was a college football player at Fresno State who was on his way home for a break when he got stuck in traffic during O.J. Simpson's iconic LA slow speed chase. Dunn says despite the controversy Simpson's later life was riddled with, he had a gift on the field that a lot of players still try to emulate today. Now he says the very valuable lesson that they teach kids is try your best to avoid all negative situations. Their motto, walk away, no drama today.
Any problem that's not okay, any situation that could spiral out, you walk away, you get to talk about it another day. And if you make a bad decision, your whole life can be turned upside down.
You can catch my full story on OJ's legacy in Southeast San Diego online later tonight at CBS8.com.
So Coach really taking for him something practical he can use to teach his students and his players.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the motto, walk away, no drama today. I'm hoping that more kids, more adults take that advice.
It is good advice. I can remember I lived in Los Angeles during the time of the trial. This was 3 years after the Rodney King beating and then the subsequent trial and verdict there. There were a lot of complicated emotions when the verdict to the O.J. Simpson trial came out. And I'm sure a lot of people are going through the same kind of complicated emotions today.
Yeah, I was an elementary student watching this trial, and I remember there were complicated emotions then. And unfortunately, there are still really complicated emotions about O.J. and everything that is O.J. today.
It was just such a big moment in history. There are going to be books, there have been books written, there will be more in the future because it was so momentous.
Absolutely.
Moving on, selling fur clothing in California is illegal, but according to an animal rights group, it hasn't stopped Neiman Marcus and others from doing it. CBS 8's Brian White has details on a new lawsuit aimed at the high-end retailer.
We were shocked to find fox and beaver fur for sale on their website.
A new lawsuit filed last week on behalf of the Los Angeles-based nonprofit Last Chance for Animals over these fur clothing items for sale on the Neiman Marcus website.
These are not cheap items. I mean, the products we have identified are thousands of dollars.
This Mandelli cashmere blend coat with fur trim sells for $3,700, and this Stefano Ricci coat with fur collar goes for nearly $6,000. According to attorney Brian Pease, these two products can be ordered on their website for pickup here in San Diego at their store in Fashion Valley.
The particular item that we identified is it's a fox fur trim, and it says dyed fox fur from Finland.
A state law went into effect last year which effectively banned the sale or manufacturing of new fur products in California. But Pease says many retailers are ignoring it.
For Neiman Marcus, it's aggravating, particularly because they've already kind of come around with their corporate policy that they're not supposed to be selling these items at all.
Pease and his client reached out to Neiman Marcus about it, but never got a response. We reached out to them too and didn't get a response either. So they're hoping this lawsuit will get their attention.
There's just so many alternatives available to fur that look amazing that there's not even any need for animals to suffer for fashion anymore.
Mandy Andrews is campaign manager for Last Chance for Animals. She's involved in undercover investigation work and didn't want her face shown. But she says the nonprofit has been fighting the fur industry for decades.
Animals on fur farms, they really suffer their whole lives living in tiny wire cages in cramped and miserable conditions.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife is tasked with enforcing the fur ban across the state, but Pease says where the agency falls short, attorneys like him have to step up to make sure retailers are complying.
Fur is more of like a status symbol. People want to brag that they can afford this expensive luxury coat, but you know, there's other ways to flaunt your wealth without torturing animals.
I'm Brian White for CBS 8.
Thanks, Brian. Still ahead tonight, new details when it comes to State Farm's plans to discontinue some homeowner coverage.
Plus, the impact stubborn inflation could have on mortgage rates.
We're looking at rain chances by this weekend, but we're not talking about a lot of significant rainfall. You'll see what I mean coming up after the break.
And some of our local veterans are facing financial hardship at home. Up next, how you can help out some military moms.